Good morning. It's 5:30 a.m. on Thursday, October 19th, and I got up this morning and I decided to head down to Bond Falls. It's about 2 hours and 20 minutes or so from the camp in Cobb Harbor at Fort Wilkinson. And I got on the road about 5 a.m. Yeah, I'm excited to see what the colors are looking like around Bond Falls now. It was really windy last night, and it still is. And I'm not sure if any of that wind is translated to the Bruce Crossing area. I'm sure it has. But lots of leaves been blown off trees for sure. So we'll see what it's like when we get there. But there's a couple of compositions that I kind of have in mind that I recall from the last trip when I was there several years ago. One amazing thing about getting up this early is that you get to see all the stars. And up here there's no light to kind of cloud that out, to wash out all those stars. You see them just in complete detail. It's just an amazing sight to look up and just see all those tiny little pinholes all over. But like I said, I'm going to try to keep it on the road here and put the vlog down. No vlogging and driving. And we'll check in with you in a little bit when we get down the road a little further. Alright, so we went through Hancock, we crossed the bridge over into Houghton, and I stopped at a McDonald's to grab some breakfast of champions. You know, it's kind of funny. There's this old stereotype, I think, that women like to sit around and get their hair done and talk at the hairdresser. Well, I'll tell you, same thing with men, except they go to McDonald's and they sit around and drink coffee in the morning. There you go. Who knew? So anyway, back on the road, destination Bond Falls. We'll see you in a little while. All right, we're here at Bond Falls, and it's still very dark outside. There's some nice light pinks and light cyans in the sky off to the east. So dawn is still breaking. We're kind of at the beginning of that twilight time. So it's pretty dark, won't really be able to see much on the trail. So I'm just kind of parked out here at the Bond Falls Outpost parking and kind of waiting for it to get a little bit brighter. I'm going to get the Mamiya 7 ready to go and grab some film out of the cooler in the back. Get prepared to head down and see what it's looking like down there around the river. So we wait. Okay, so here we are. We're at Bond Falls, and we're actually at the upper falls here. The lower falls is further down the river behind me. But yeah, it was kind of what I was expecting. We're definitely past prime here. Most of the leaves are now on the ground and not in the trees, but there are a few holding on, like the aspen seem to be holding on, and the birch are holding on to their leaves a little bit longer. But for the most part, most of the leaves are now on the ground. But I'm gonna still making a couple exposures here. There's a very cool pattern here in this upper reaches of the falls. It's kind of like a Z-shaped pattern. It's something that I was attracted to the first time I was here, although I didn't make an exposure of it. I actually made an exposure further up the river. That was one of the first ones that I'd made on 4x5 that actually came out, and I was actually happy with. I'm gonna go back and visit that scene as well, look around a little bit more, but I see some interesting opportunities for some intimate close-ups with some of these leaves on the ground and some of the rocks around the area here. Could make for some interesting fall scenes. So I gotta load some film because I went through that roll last night, so I'm gonna do that right now and then kind of look around a little bit. Okay, film's loaded. I'm gonna compose this shot here, getting some really nice color coming in from the sun. So I might actually get some pretty colors in the water. Okay, so I've made one exposure right now, and I metered it out, and it was a 30-second exposure at f/16. So with reciprocity, that adds in almost double. So I made an exposure for a minute and 2 seconds. I'm kind of watching the morning glow kind of catch the water here in front of me. Kind of orangey red coloration to the water. I'm gonna hang out here for a little while longer, make another exposure, and then I'm gonna move around a little bit and see what other kind of scenery. I'm getting some really pretty stuff going on behind me as well, so really beautiful morning though, but definitely colder here than it was in Copper Harbor. Okay, made another exposure. That time I made one for 30 seconds. As the light is beginning to break over the horizon, it's really starting to light up through here, so less time to make an exposure. Okay, so it's a little bit past 8:45 a.m. I've gone through one roll of 120 film, so that's 10 exposures on 6x7. And I started out with the Z-shaped waterfall that's just over here in front of me to my left. I made 3 exposures on that with the 80mm lens. I was catching a little bit of the sun coming up and catching the clouds overhead, throwing a little bit of a red cast into the water. And then I switched up to the 43mm lens, and I went up behind me here, the hill, and there's some rock formations that are coming up out of the ground, and there's a bunch of golden fallen leaves laying around them, so it kind of made for a neat, intimate little composition. I made 2 exposures with the 43mm. I ended up putting in a 2-stop soft grad filter in, because just at the very top of that exposure through the trees, I was getting some of the sky beginning to light up, and that sky was a little bit brighter than my foreground composition. So that 2-stop soft kind of brought in at the very top just to kind of blur in with the trees so I didn't get a hard line in there. A little bit of a soft control to tone down those brighter tones in the sky. And then I went a little bit further down river here, found another nice composition of the falls themselves, tried to keep the sky or any of the trees or anything out of it, just some of the rock leading in and some of those fallen leaves, and then part of the falls. So I made my 3 final exposures there, finished off that roll of film. Right now I'm just going to pull the film and put that away in my bag, and then scout around a little bit and see what's interesting out here. Again, you know, probably a week to a week and a half past prime. Most of the leaves here have fallen. A couple of the aspens are hanging on. Yeah, I'm going to scout around a little bit and see what we can see, have some fun, and then head back to Copper Harbor. All right. Well, here we are. Now we're at the base of Bond Falls. It's one of the largest in the Upper Peninsula. Of course, you've got the Keweenaw Falls, but Bond Falls is equally as majestic and powerful. So we'll hike up here and we'll get a little bit closer look at it. I'm gonna climb up this little waterfall below me here. It's pretty cool. You gotta be real careful when you're walking around this area because Bond Falls basically overflows onto the rocks and the stairs that have been put in place, the stone staircase that has been put into place, so visitors can hike up and down it. But it's amazing, amazing sight. Let's take a look at it. It's an amazing cascade, and it easily falls about 30 to 35 feet. I've been wanting to photograph the falls. I just haven't done it yet, and part of the reason is because it's really iconic and a lot of folks are doing it. And part of it, the reason is I just haven't found the right angle or way to approach it yet. And I was kind of looking at it from the side here today to see if I could maybe shoot across, because the trees back behind us here are getting some of that morning golden light on them. You can see up here. Yeah, I'd have to put a grad filter in to get that, which isn't a problem. But the framing isn't quite what I'm looking for. To be honest, this morning I haven't really fallen in love with any of the compositions that I found or made. Those images that I made earlier, I kind of feel like I just made them for the sake of making some more images to make sure I walked away with something. Sometimes on these trips you'll go out and you'll only walk away with 1 or 2 good photographs, and that's fine. I'm not in the business of producing quantity of images. I'm more in the business of producing quality images. And I've kind of not really found my center on this trip yet. I think that there may be 1 or 2 images that I've made that will hopefully turn out pretty good. I won't know until I see them. I'm still really emotionally attached to the ideas of those images. One of the reasons that I stopped making these vlogs or these trip journals a few years ago after my trip to the Porcupine Mountains was I found myself focusing more on the video making aspect than scouting and photographing. So I really cut back and pretty much quit production of videos for a good year at least. One of my subscribers had mentioned, hey, you know, you should get back into videos. Looked like you were posting quite a bit and then you tapered off and then you just kind of stopped. And that's certainly true. And again, the reason for that is sometimes I feel that the video production and the vlog aspect get in the way of what I'm here to do photographically. I'm kind of feeling that a little bit on this trip as well. It may be that I just have kind of exhausted the area a little bit and I need to move on to new areas. Every time you're in a new area, of course, and this goes contrary to what I said in the last episode of The Art of Natural Beauty about kind of sticking with an area, returning to that area and hammering it into the ground and really getting an idea for what that area and that landscape is like. But sometimes you need to move on and you need to go to another location, and every time you go to a new location it's new, so everything's exciting, you're more inspired sometimes. There's certainly a lot of images I could make here, I'm just not really feeling it right now. So anyway, I'm gonna hike around a little bit more, check out some of the area on the upper reaches, and then probably head back out, head back to Copper Harbor, and see what we can get into over there for this evening. So I want you to take a look at this scene right here and see if it looks a little bit familiar to you. If you've studied any of my photography, you may recognize this scene. So this is a scene that I titled Autumn's Glow. And it was shot here in 2013 at Bond Falls in the upper reaches of the falls on the Ontonagon River. And it was really the second exposure that I had made on 4x5 sheet film that I thought was really of quality enough to add to my body of work. And I was really quite happy with the way it turned out. And to this day, it's one of the images I'm most proud of. But I was looking for a real intimate kind of scene and wanted to shoot something here, but didn't really want to do what everybody else was doing. And I found this group of rocks here in the water, and there was a tree that's off behind me here. A little bit of yellow right there. And there's still some leaves hanging onto it, but not many. But at the time, they were in prime color. And it was in the afternoon, and the sun was coming over my back shoulder here, and it was setting off in this direction, and it was casting reflected light off of that tree into the water, and that created a really beautiful yellow and orange reflection in the water, kind of warming it up. So I didn't use a polarizer, and the Fuji Velvia 50 film I was using being a very color saturated film in the first place, really did a good job of translating that. And so yeah, one of my prouder moments in photography was shot right here on the spot in 2013. So it's kind of cool to revisit some of your old spots and take a look at them with your eyes after you've developed and changed, and some of your visions have changed, and see if they still hold up. But I would still make that image today. Pretty happy with that one. Anyway, I think I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get back up to the truck, drive back over to Copper Harbor. It's about 2.5 hours. Probably get some lunch. I have an idea of what I'm going to do tonight. I think tonight for sure I'm going to head back out to Horseshoe Harbor and work on a composition that is pretty much in the same area we were at the first night on the 17th. I kind of feel the trip winding down, and I don't know, might hit the road tomorrow instead of Saturday. Let's head out. So I just rolled through Houghton, and right before you cross the bridge there's a stop sign for the roundabout, and on the right shoulder there was this guy standing there with a long white beard and a blue jacket with a hood on, holding a bag, looked like maybe pop bottles or something, and he was hitchhiking. You know, I kind of looked at him, and certainly I always feel sympathetic towards folks that, you know, need a hand. I always kind of consider giving somebody a ride, but then there's that other side of me that just worries about getting involved in something and going a little further than I'd really like it to go. So I crossed the bridge and I drove up through Hancock and came up around the corner towards the Quincy mine. And on the right shoulder, I swear to God, was either the same guy or his twin. I mean, that was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. I saw a guy standing on the side of the road with his thumb out, with a jacket with a hood on and a bag in his hand. I thought, there's no way in hell did that guy just warp himself across the bridge, and is he now standing there? What the heck was that? I don't know. It just kind of creeped me out a little bit. Pretty strange things happening in the UP. Anyway, I'm in the final stretch on 41. Like I said, I just came out of Hancock, and I'll be going through Calumet and Mohawk and some of the smaller towns, and then I'll be arriving at Copper Harbor. What was that about? That was crazy! Well, here we are back at Copper Harbor at camp. It's a good drive, 2.5 hours back from Bond Falls, and I gotta say, I've been sitting in the truck quite a bit on this trip, so gotta stretch out a little bit. But yeah, we're back at camp, and so I think I'm gonna relax a little bit and recharge the batteries. Literally, gotta recharge the batteries on the GoPro. So let's go chill out. That's better. So it's been a pretty epic trip so far. I've seen over 700 miles of scenic highway, I've seen an abundance of natural beauty, I've seen 3 bald eagles and 2 white-bearded hitchhiking gnomes. What was that? That was crazy. I'm gonna have to go and check the GoPro footage because I had it mounted to the front of my truck, and just do a comparison, because I swear that that was the same guy. I'm not gonna lie, that was really weird. You know, first on Houghton side of the bridge, and then on the Hancock side of the bridge, about 10 minutes apart, 15 minutes tops. Anyway, so yeah, I'm just gonna kick back a little bit for the next couple hours and get ready to head out a little bit later to Horseshoe Harbor and try to make a couple more exposures there. I think I'm gonna do another composition of one of the humpbacks from a different perspective, and then maybe do some intimate close-ups of some of the lichen and various rock patterns over there. But one of the other passions that I have, other than photography, is rock collecting. And when I'm up on these trips, I'm always looking and hunting for cool rocks to take home. I've got jars of them at home. So yesterday, scouting around for the shoot we did last night, I found this bad boy. That is a huge agate, and the thing's about the size of a baked potato. So it's pretty psyched to find that. And then I found this guy, a little bit smaller, but equally as beautiful. And then I found a piece of beach glass, pretty well polished up. So when we're on these trips, my daughter and I together, and my wife and my family, we love to hunt for rocks and stones. And last summer when we were here, my daughter stumbled upon this big piece of agate that was embedded in the bedrock around it, and she was trying to get it out. She was chiseling away at it with other rocks, trying to break it out, and she's like, Daddy, come and help me break this out, you know, and really working at it hard. And I had to explain to her that we were probably not going to be able to get that agate out, but would find some other ones. But she just loves the crystals in these things. That's what she loves about them, is all the crystals. So she's going to be super psyched to see this big piece. She's got at home on her windowsill, she's got a row of all these various rocks that we found on different trips and even around our home in Keweenaw. So really excited to bring this home and show it to her. So that kind of brings me to how I've been feeling lately. Kind of set in last night. Just been feeling a little bit homesick. You know, usually when I go out on these trips, the first couple days I'm good and I'm excited to be out here. And then after, you know, about 3-4 days of being by myself, especially on my fall trips where I know that I'm about to embark on a major tour, I start to get a little homesick. So I know I mentioned this in one of the other episodes of The Art of Natural Beauty, but I don't do this for a living, although I really strive to, and I'm working hard to try to figure out a way to do that, to make a living from photography and from entertaining and from video production. But I'm in the industry that is referred to as the rental staging industry, and what that is audiovisual support for corporate meetings, events, and trade shows. So I'm a video technician, and I'm getting ready to head out on pretty much the majority of my income on this tour for the auto show. And it's 4 cities, the 4 major cities of the North American auto show circuit. And those are LA, Detroit, Chicago, and New York. So I'm getting ready to head out to LA on November 16th, and I'll be in LA until December 12th. And if you do a quick tabulation, you'll find out that that's almost a month. So that's a long time to be away from home. It's a long time to be away from your family. And I'm, you know, kind of feeling the anxiety anticipating that that's coming up. So it just makes me want to be home and spend as much time with them even more, knowing that that's coming up. But, you know, I mean, it's allowed me to kind of live where I want to live, and for our family to live where we want to live, and in Keweenaw Peninsula, and still, you know, make a decent income, because about 90% of the work that I do is out of town. So I do quite a bit of traveling, and, you know, again, this circuit, this auto show circuit, starts up November 16th, and that's going to run through April. There's about a month in between Chicago and New York, but when I get back on the 12th of December, I'm home for a couple days, and then I head right down to Detroit and get that show running. Then I got a break for the holidays, and then back in that show. Then that show tears down. Then I've got about a day before I fly out to Chicago, and then I'm in Chicago for another 27 days. So it's a major run, and you know, I kind of feel like I'm missing a lot of her growing up and missing a lot of that time. You know, I don't get to see her much when she's in school. I don't get to see her come home from school, talk about her day, what she's done. So my major break between the shows that I'm doing is in the summer. So generally July and August, I don't really have anything going on, and that's when I'm able to be with my family and travel and do stuff like this. So in anticipation of that, you know, I kind of feel that, you know, maybe I'm going to head back tomorrow. I'm not sure yet, 100% sure yet. It's supposed to be windy. Tomorrow is windy as it's been today, and at night it's been ferociously windy. I mean, I've come out of the tent at night and look up, and I mean, these trees are blowing around like rag dolls. It's amazing what they can withstand. So that's not really going to allow me to photograph any trees, any leaves, any color, fall color. So that's kind of out of the question. And I've kind of done some of the shots that I wanted to do, with the exception of getting down into Magnes Falls and doing a close-up, which is potentially what I would do tomorrow. But I'm not sure. Not sure what I'm going to do yet. I'm going to kind of think on it a little bit over the next couple hours. So anyway, I'm going to just kind of kick back, relax for a little bit, and maybe take a little nap for an hour. So do me a favor, when you guys wake me up in about an hour. Okay, here we are back at Horseshoe Harbor. It's a little bit after 4. I wanted to get out here a little bit earlier and just scout around a little bit more, see what other opportunities that I might be able to find to make a couple more exposures today. I'm still kind of toying around with the idea of going home tomorrow, and if that's the case, then this is going to be my final evening in Copper Harbor for this year. So I want to try to make the most of it. Not definite on that yet, but kind of leaning that way. So hey, let's head on down and see what we can find. Never gets old. Every time I come out here, I'm just blown away by how beautiful and amazing this place is. One of these days, I gotta bring a tent and backpack this whole thing and camp out here. Gotta put that on the bucket list. Absolutely amazing. Okay, so we're back out on Horseshoe Harbor, out on the point, where I made the exposure on 4x5 of the 3 humpbacks on Tuesday the 17th. And I wanted to get another variation of that composition from a different angle, so I've kind of set up right parallel with them almost, but I'm using the shoreline here as kind of a way to lead the eye across the frame and then up towards the 3 rock formations out in Lake Superior. And then right now, the sky is doing some really cool stuff, wisping kind of away from the 3 humpbacks. So I don't know how long that's going to hold out, because everything's subject to change, obviously, in nature, and the winds are starting to pick up again here. But I've got the Mamiya 7.2 set up right here, and I'm ready to make an exposure. It's a little after 6 o'clock, so I'll probably make one very soon, and then I'm going to kind of wait again until maybe about 6:30 and then 7. While I was doing that, I also made a couple other intimate exposures on some formations in the rocks and some lichen and stuff growing on the rocks, which is something I haven't really done in a while. I haven't really focused on intimate compositions for a while. So something I was due to do, and I noticed a couple of really interesting things over when I first got off onto the point. One thing that happened to me was I was so anxious to get out here and get ready to get this composition set up that I grabbed all my stuff, but I forgot my iPhone. And I use my iPhone as a stopwatch. I used to have a mechanical stopwatch. I bought it on eBay and I was carrying it around with me, and I wound it up and left it sit in the bag for a while wound, and I think one of the springs kind of popped through and it popped the paper back that has all your time settings on it. So I don't really trust it anymore, and I just haven't gone out and bought a new one. I figure, you know, the iPhone works as well as a stopwatch. Plus, it's a clock, it's a phone, it's a social media apparatus. So I had to hike back and I had to grab my iPhone and my bottle of water because I forgot that also. And while I was at it, I guess to keep things going really smoothly and awesome here, I was moving the tripod from over here where I made those intimate compositions to over here where it is now. And when I was moving it, I set my bag and everything down, and I put the tripod down and it began to go over. And I noticed it out of the corner of my eye, and just before the Mamiya hit the ground with the 43mm lens on it exposed and everything, I mean, it was maybe 5-6 inches from hitting the ground. I reached out and grabbed it and caught it. I don't know. I mean, this camera here, I always like to keep my stuff in the best condition I can. I really take good care of my things because I know someday that I may sell them. And I just like my stuff in good shape. But anyway, I had it on this Joby tripod and I was setting it up and I was shooting some B-roll of me walking around and doing my thing. And it was really windy, and this was yesterday. And I had my back to it, and then I heard thud, and I knew what happened, and I turned around and the camera had blown over, and it was on top of one of these rock walls out here. And I looked at the lens immediately to make sure the lens wasn't damaged, and it wasn't, thank God. So I went on about my day and did my thing. Then I noticed later on there's a little gash in it through the coating, through the black weather sealing coating down to the aluminum frame. So it's exposing a little aluminum. So it's not the end of the world. The camera still works. Nothing was really damaged, but cosmetically there's a little bit of a mar. So I don't know. I think I'm just not taking my own advice, and I'm really rushing around a little bit, and I'm probably trying to do too many things at once. Like I said, you know, one of the reasons I kind of stopped doing these vlogs from the road, these road journals, was because I just wasn't able to focus on my photography and on the vlog at the same time. But I think it's also important to tell the story. I think there's a lot of interest in it, and I also think that if this stuff holds up, that one day when I'm much older, or perhaps dead and gone, that my daughter will be able to look back at this stuff and kind of see what I did and what I went through, and a little bit about who I was. You know, I mean, I think we have a pretty good and close relationship, but you don't always know somebody's intimate feelings and what they've gone through and just why they do what they do. You know, why is Dad so crazy about photography? So I'm hoping maybe some of this will last for her too. Anyway, enough philosophy talk for now. I'm gonna hang out, and this is looking really nice back here, but I'm gonna hang out a little bit and make some exposures. So let's do that. All right. Okay, so it's 7 o'clock. I made my third of the 3 exposures that I intend on making on the humpbacks behind me here. That sky is just looking amazing right now. You can see that purple and the wispiness in the clouds up there. It's just, it's an awe-inspiring place to be for me. And there's a lake boat coming in way out there, right there, the tip of my finger. Hard to see it, but a couple of those have been going by and they're all lit up. It's kind of fun watching those roll through. So sometimes I imagine what it'd be like to be a captain or work on one of those boats. So, gee, I might make one more. I was saving my last exposure for another composition, but I don't know. It's looking so beautiful over here. And usually at the end of the roll, sometimes you chop off part of the exposure if the film isn't loaded precise. There's a little start strip on it, and sometimes it just doesn't line up for me where it's supposed to, so oftentimes I'll chop off part of the last frame of the roll, which kind of stinks, but what the heck, I'm gonna go for broke. I'm gonna make one more exposure on this, and then we're gonna hike it out of here, so stand by. Wow, it is absolutely stunning out there. Absolutely stunning. I mean, look at that. Doesn't get much better than that, folks. That is truly the definition to me of the art of natural beauty. There's nothing more beautiful than nature to me, and that right there, better than any artist canvas painting in the world as far as I'm concerned. It's just amazing. Well, I managed to burn through another roll of 120. So that's 3 rolls on this trip and 3 sheets of 4x5 just done just in 3 days. So not too bad. Hopefully we get some good images out of that lot. It's just reward enough really to be up here and to see this with my own eyes. And I tell you what, when I'm checking out of this world, when I'm laying on my deathbed, these kind of thoughts I hope will be running through my head, along with my beautiful family and a wonderful life. But this right here is this is what it's all about. This is our connection. This is where we're meant to be. So let's try to do our best and preserve this so it's always here for future generations. And let's think about that when we're building our cities and our towns and building new houses and leaving the old ones sitting empty. Let's think about this. I'm not going to get too much more philosophical on you right now. I'm just going to pack up my stuff over here and I'm going to hike out. So I'm not going to capture any of that. I'm going to sign off for tonight. I'll see you first thing in the morning, and then we're either going to be here another day or I'll be letting you know that we're driving home. So thanks for being with me today. Enjoy the art of natural beauty and have a good night.